Hi guys, Trevor Swenson back again with Through the Darkness, my personal journey through PTSD and trauma and stressor-related disorder. I'm glad to be with you. I'm glad you're with me. I ask you to click and subscribe, hit the notification bell. It would be great to share my journey with you. My goal through all of this is literally to have the most comprehensive walk through PTSD that I possibly can have for people that might be struggling or know somebody that's struggling by the end of this. I don't know when that completion date or time or number of episodes will be, but that is my goal. I want to continue talking about the big three. I covered anxiety as being one of the big three that have been the most difficult for me to deal with PTSD, and the other two being depression and anger. And today's topic is going to be dealing with depression. I think I've mentioned in multiple episodes that I'm also diagnosed with major depressive disorder on top of PTSD. It's very common for those suffering trauma-related disorders and PTSD to also have anxiety and depression. And unfortunately, my depression is actually one step further than just depression. I want to talk about first the difference between depression and sadness, and then the difference between depression and major depressive disorder. All of us in life experience sadness. All of us in life will experience depression. But for those of us that are struggling with a depressive disorder, it really ramps up the experience, if you will. And it's not an experience that is any fun to walk through. In fact, it's extremely painful to walk through a depressive disorder like major depressive disorder. I still remember a story about my dad helping somebody that was very close to him, a professional on top of it, that was walking through depression, and I was a young man, and I couldn't relate at all to anything that he was talking about on how somebody could struggle with depression. Like, I had been down about things, and I had been bummed about things, and things were hard to get off my mind at particular moments. But until you've actually experienced what clinical depression is, you really have absolutely no idea how debilitating depression is. And I saw an interesting quote the other night that my wife showed me, and it said something along the lines of, if you haven't had PTSD, a depressive disorder, or an anxiety disorder, shut up and listen. And I just thought that was a really good way of putting it, because I came from the side of the equation that didn't understand depression at all. And now I live with depression as one of the three areas that are continually pushing in on me from all directions. Today, for example, was a day of anxiety. It was very difficult for me to shake my anxiety today. I'm feeling better now that I'm filming, but the depression days really are difficult to navigate for a lot of reasons. The number one way that it manifests itself is that it shows an intense lack of interest in doing anything. And people around me, my family, close friends, people that know me well, can see it so clearly that I just absolutely don't have any interest to do the things that they saw bring so much happiness to my life over the years, whether that be fishing or hunting or working in the woods, working on the tractor, things along those lines that used to be so much enjoyment to me. That is a red flag that there is something much more serious going on. And all of those things now I need to force myself to get out and to do them. And there's a lot more life to live than to live it that way. That's a very difficult way to live life. So that was a red flag for me, is my complete lack of interest in all of the things that used to bring me such joy and happiness. Depression is also interesting because you really can't take depression out on anything. And what I mean by that is that if I'm struggling with anger, there are a lot of things that I can do that help alleviate my anger that I'll touch on in an upcoming episode that help to lower the level of anger about the situation that I'm feeling. And anxiety is the same way. Anxiety is a lot easier to get off the track of anxiety by focusing on breathing, by focusing on music, by focusing on lots of other healthy stimulus. But depression literally puts you flat on your back, or in my case, staring for hours out a window in a chair, just hoping that the cloud will lift. And those days are very, very difficult. I also understand that those days are part of the process of my brain healing from the brain injury that I have, that was accumulated or that happened over a number of years. That's part of the neuroplasticity of the brain trying to figure out again what my new normal is. And another aspect of depression is that there are just depressive days where it's dissociative, where you really can't put a finger on exactly why you're feeling depressed for the day, which is depressing in itself. And there are also those days where it's very clear the things that I'm feeling depressed and down about, whether it be my diagnosis, whether it be the financial loss or the medical burden that has been on my family, or how my job as husband, friend, father, professional, how those things have all gone away or have deteriorated. When you focus on those types of specific things with PTSD, it's very easy to slip into a depressive season. And if you're in one of those seasons, and if your symptoms are lasting, please get help. Please get professional help, because clinical depression is nothing to screw around with. And I ask you to ask somebody to get you to help, or to take yourself to get help, because it's a very real, very damaging aspect of trauma and stressor-related disorder or unresolved trauma. In fact, the other thing that I can tie directly to depression and the depression that I experience is, unfortunately, but it's very real, is the suicidal thoughts part of the equation. And it's usually at night. It's usually when my mind is going. It's usually goes in the order of anxiety, depression, and then just intense anger because of the first two that I can't do anything about, that it's just something that I'm walking through for the time being. We're so used to being able to fix something that is broken, or to read something that is calming or soothing, or have somebody say something to you that is uplifting. All of those things are true, and all of those things have value, but when you're dealing with clinical depression, it really is a difficult maze to navigate. And I just challenge you to please get professional help. And I will tell you that I did. That was one of the things that I did early on, when the anxiety started to take over, and then I recognized that there was this deep and dark depression that was its shadow or its twin brother. I knew that there was something very serious going on. And again, as I've told you in the past, that alcohol really helped me, but really, when it came down to it, alcohol also really helped me take lots of years off of my life because of PTSD. That is not the solution. So please get help, and whether it be a combination of cognitive therapy, or whether it be physical therapy, or whether it be medication, please explore all of those options with a healthcare professional, because it is nothing to screw around with at all. And it is a very ugly chapter in the PTSD book. And again, loss of interest, wanting to sleep all the time, taking naps when I never took naps, sleeping longer than I wanted to sleep, just looking forward to the day being done is the best way that I can explain it, and that I explained it to a doctor just the other day, that I really looked forward to 8 o'clock at night, because I knew that I had made it through another day and would be able to fall asleep and not have any of these things on my mind. So if you're struggling with these types of things and these types of symptoms, I just really challenge you to please get help, because it's something that needs the attention of a professional. And you are not alone. There are so many people that struggle with depression, and there are so many people that have unresolved trauma, and there are so many people that are dealing with trauma and stressor-related disorders. You are not alone. And the stigma that goes along with it is, yes, it's a heavy thing to wear around your neck, but the thing that I have recognized about being diagnosed with what I've been diagnosed with is that it puts a target on the name of these things: anxiety and depression, sleep disorders, and social aversion. And it really has lined up for me a whole series of targets that I am going to work very hard in a healthy manner to continue to take small steps in the right direction to overcome these things. Inside of you is a great will that is being covered up and masked by PTSD and all that it brings with us. And finding that will and tapping into that will and having people validate you that are around you, having people speak over you that have been there, that are no longer in that season, is very, very healing. And that is one of the reasons that I want to do these videos, is I want to make sure that people feel validated, that no matter how your trauma came about, whether it was through people, whether it be through an event, whether it be through a parent, whether it be through service to our country or our communities, I just want you to know that your trauma is very real, and that there is a community of people, including myself, that want nothing more than for you to see victory and freedom from these things that are weighing us down. It's just a season. We're just walking through the darkness, and I know that you have it in you to get through this. But please seek professional help, because depression and major depressive disorder, for me, which is depression that lasts for weeks at a time, sometimes is nothing that you want to navigate by yourself without professional help. Please do that and make that appointment. Ask that certain somebody to help you make that appointment. Whatever it is, reach out and get help for depression, because it's very, very real. It is nothing that is just in your head. You're not losing your mind or going crazy like I've thought numerous times through this process. It's something that needs the attention of professionals. I also want to remind you, like I'm going to remind you all the time, that we serve a very good God that has an incredibly compassionate heart towards your walk. He saw your trauma. He knows your trauma. He knows everything you went through. He knows how you're feeling right now, and he wants nothing more than to walk with you through it and be an ever-present help in time of need. That is who he is. And I just wish you the best as you navigate depression with PTSD and with trauma and stressor-related disorder. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this with somebody who might need a word of encouragement. There's light, as you can see, shining in at the end of the tunnel. We're going to get there, and we're going to get there together. This is Trevor Swenson. Be well. Can't wait to see you next time.